People of Reddit, what is the worst thing a therapist, psychiatrist, or mental health professional has ever said to you? Nothing. She fell asleep in her chair while writing notes. I was talking about the death of my parents. I was 16. Never went to another therapist. My therapist, which I just discontinued, would literally order a meal and eat it right in front of me while literally saying nothing. She did that for the entire year I wasted with her, just watching this lady eat her food while saying nothing, only to then give me snarky and 2-word replies. I want my year back, lol. My condolences on your parents. I truly hope you're doing better after that crappy experience. If she was that tired, she should have taken the day off. My therapist, which I just discontinued, would literally order a meal and eat it right in front of me while literally saying nothing. She did that for the entire year I wasted with her, just watching this lady eat her food while saying nothing, only to then give me snarky and 2-word replies. My only option recently was phone therapy, and it was so upsetting to hear her rustling around and eating her lunch while I was trying to have a discussion about a difficult situation. No wonder I went off the rails by saying the same things over and over again and never got anywhere. 14. Telling my shrink about how I was bullied in school. Do they make fun of your nose? No. And that's how I found out I have a big nose. Do they make fun of your nose? No. Really? Why wouldn't they make fun of your nose? Scribbles intensely in notebook. Ooh, aware of big ass nose. Mental disability? Need further research. Can't seem to focus on giant nose that certainly blocks 86% of field of view. Prescribe Adderall? Wow, that person is stupid. Also a terrible counselor. Always ask open-ended questions. What do they make fun of you for? Instead of, do they make fun of underscore? Do they call you King Chubby Dum Dum or Lil Fat Ears? I had a psychiatrist who was convinced I was anorexic even though I wasn't. It really sucked because my therapist and my psychiatrist worked at the same company and they had a policy where they don't help people with eating disorders. So even though I went to a specialist and they confirmed I didn't have an eating disorder, I was still banned from that facility and lost my long-term therapist. Had a policy where they don't help people with eating disorders. Why? Therapists can be specialists or avoid disorders they have trouble addressing or treating. This is not inherently a bad thing. Think of it like specialist physicians. And would you want a brain specialist doing your heart surgery? This is a general statement about mental health care professionals. In this person's case, they dealt with a crafty business with crafty communication/practices. They didn't have the facilities to treat eating disorders. That my dad was in hell after committing suicide. I was 12. I ran out of there faster than anything. Edit. Thank you all for all the kind words and awards, heart. My uncle is a minister. He announced at an 18-year-old kid's funeral, he committed suicide after struggling for years with profound depression, but was dissuaded from seeing a psych or taking meds because they were from the devil and only given prayer counseling, and announced what a shame it was that the kid was burning in hell. In front of the whole damn family. Edited to add because people keep asking/commenting. The parents weren't outraged because they shared the same beliefs. These parents are the ones who prevented their own son from getting medical help, and just sent him to prayer meetings instead of actual help. That's effing awful. What kind of a person thinks that, let alone announces it at a funeral? Puke. The type that goes to hell. Had a guy that ran a medical transport company taking me to a mental health clinic with the same idea. Suicide is a straight road to hell. Like, thanks bro, hope to see you there. And then he went on to complain about refugees. And bragged about how great his transport company was. Lol. I'm sorry that they said that to you. I was told the same thing after I attempted suicide as well. r/suicide bereavement, Reddit link. My mom went to a therapist during my parents' divorce and he tried to coerce her into having sex with him while she was crying. She stopped crying and left immediately. Dang, they could get arrested for that, I think. Did your mom find a better therapist? No, she hasn't been back to therapy since. If she does need therapy, I hope she gives therapists the benefit of the doubt even though it's very hard given her experience. Most therapists are not like that. What she met was a predator who should be reported and stripped off his license. Not can, should, and would lose their license, as they should. In my mom's case, she was appalled and extremely offended by his behavior. However, she already had so much going on in her life at that time that she couldn't afford the time or the money it would take to bring justice to the situation. Truly preying on people who are at their most vulnerable. I wholeheartedly get this. But it effing sucks these effers get away with it because bringing them to justice is extremely hard on their victims. Effing sucks. Someone didn't notice there was a space after the and therapist on the doors sign. You'll never do an important job like doctor, veterinarian, firefighter, lawyer, counselor. You'll probably end up in a Walmart for your whole life. I was 8 years old and still remember how mad my parents were. Lol. Edit. Thank you for the awards. Second edit. I am currently working at an international factory, keeping my money to open my own shelter for stray animals and training them. Got 2 certifications, one for training and one for cooking. Maybe I'll end up cooking new recipes for the stray animals at my shelter, eh? I know a dentist who became a dentist out of spite after a conversation like this with a career guidance guy in high school. Now that effer will say I employed reverse psychology. Look, now the kid is a successful dentist because of it. That's my dad in a nutshell. He takes credit for both his kids' successes when in reality he was an absent father, and when he was there, he would only belittle us. F that guy. Have sort of the opposite story. I asked my college advisor for an overview of what my college curriculum would look like in a certain program, and she laid it all out and said I'd probably get an internship at a certain company which I had never heard of before. I had to look it up afterwards because I had no idea what she was talking about. And then years later I was applying to wherever I could, and apparently a recruiter for that company was in a club recruitment chat room and I sent him my resume. I ended up getting an internship which turned into my current job at that company, and it's a pretty big name, and I remembered like how 3 years ago she threw that out as an example. Emailed her and she said next time she's going to use SpaceX or Tesla as the example. Laughing out loud. Ha ha ha, that's amazing. Finally, it's refreshing to hear a feel-good story. My sister's guidance counselor told her she was not college material and that she should forget about being a nurse. She went on to graduate from the nursing program at Kent State with very high performance in psychiatric nursing. What absolute elitist garbage. I hate when people look down on certain jobs, especially jobs involving manual labor and customer service. Tell me about it. My husband is a career for vulnerable adults and my mother always looked down on him. Well, we applied for a mortgage recently and she found out how much he earns a month. Her attitude changed fast. Laughing my butt off. Blay. I really dislike people who classify earnings as worth. Sorry you had to go through that. Thank you. He's still pissed at her and I don't blame him, but I must admit it was nice to see the shock on her face. I'm proud he does what he does and I'd love to know how she thinks the world would run without people like my husband. You can say the same but without the negative implications. Some people are not suited for university but they can be very good at other kind of jobs, not that they are less important because of that. Now, telling an 8-year-old kid that he will never be important. You have to be a special kind of butthole to do that. I have a 4-year degree and make less than a buddy that got a 1-year degree in electrical. Silly me. Just look at how ape crap everyone went in the US when people suggested, or did, close down jobs like manual labor and customer service due to COVID. You know, the unimportant jobs. Same. I hate it when people are like, oh, your husband works in retail? Still? That's not really a career, you know. The hell it isn't. As long as it puts food in our fridge, clothes on our naked ass bodies and keeps the utilities on, F you, ERCOT. F you all to hell. Also everyone else who was responsible for last week's rolling cluster of. We hated it. Thanks, then it counts as a career. We would be F-ed without people in retail, food production, sanitation. The pandemic has really highlighted how much our appreciation of the value people add to our life is all elitism. Factory workers keeping the rest society from collapsing are just as important as medical staff directly saving someone's life by intubing them. Yet no one is starting clap for meatpacking plant workers campaigns. You should be able to take a counselor's license for saying something like that. I mean, when they're not looking, you can take it off the wall. You're taking up someone else's space, and they're probably dealing with worse. Veterans Mental Health Recovery Program. When I was suicidal and reaching out, victory hand, edit, thanks for the support y'all. I'm doing okay now, though I did leave the program after that session. I'm a vet in Australia, so negative to those asking if this was through the American VA system. Though, I'm sorry to hear that the resources are just as turbulent overseas. Veteran mental health is a complicated area, and not every vet went to war, or served overseas. It creates an internal hierarchy in the way we think about who has it worse and how we view the way we fit into the structure of defense. I hope those of you who had similar experiences were able to find the support that you needed, and if you haven't yet, please DM me, though may take me a while to respond. And for the friends and family of vets who have been supporting and suffering with them, what you go through is also valid. You signed up with them and it's a pain that can be hard for others to understand. That doesn't mean it matters any more or less. Cheers fam, big love. In some situations you may think this as a provider for basic community services, especially for non-compliant clients who just appeared to be there for a check or because their parole officer said they had to go, or court-ordered etc., which there is some semblance of truth. But dear God, you never say it, and you may not have the rapport with the client to even know for sure in many cases. That is so unethical and extremely harmful. And just a dick move as a human being. It's always okay to think judgmental things, but it's often rude to say them. Or downright damaging, especially if you're a mental health care provider. If you think something terrible I'll never know, that's just for you to work through. If you say it I'll never forget it. Had a Navy captain, psych doc, tell me he didn't believe I felt the way I said I felt about the year I spent in combat while he sat behind some desk in Florida? Got to love the VA sometimes. My husband got really depressed after some life-changing events and he wanted to try to get on meds. The doctor literally said, "I don't think you need meds, just don't think about depressing things." Hope you eventually got the help you needed. Have you tried just not being depressed? You're not that sick, speechless face. Just don't think about depressing things. /r/wow thanks and cured /Reddit link. Got told I was a little crazy when doing the intake for the TRP. All I did was tell her about a couple of incidents that I had been part of and that they kept me up at night. I stood up, walked out, and filed my disability claim the next week. 100%, out the gate, and taking a break to go back to school has worked wonders for me. I use my creativity with art and craft as both a coping skill and as something that gives me extra purpose in life. A psychologist told me that doing so is maladaptive. I didn't go back. Art is nice and all, but have you tried unhealthy substances like alcohol and drugs to cope with your issues? I like to combine the two for a little extra spice. You probably shouldn't drink paint. Probably shouldn't and totally do are two different things, and I want to feel red inside, so you can't stop me. Damn, that is 100% opposite of any sane therapy. How long ago was this? We regularly encourage coping through healthy outlets like this. The truth is in the middle, honestly. 1. It's not maladaptive in the sense that you're doing something that directly contributes to you ruining your life even more. 2. It's not the best since the coping mechanisms used don't help you deal directly with the problems you have and find solutions for them. Note, coping mechanisms both help you find stability from a problem and also make its solution not so urgent. Example, many artists use their art to cope with trauma they've suffered. They go their whole life using art as a coping mechanism, they get very famous and they die never having technically solved their initial problem, but they find a balance between their coping and trauma that suits them and never choose to fix the problem directly. We can all choose our path. You can choose to cope, fix, or suffer. The truth in the middle, every normal human needs non-destructive coping mechanisms to help deal with the problems that arise, but then needs to face the problems directly and solve them, lest they remain in you. Editing, formatting, and errors. Speaking as an artist who does do this, I've managed to connect my mindfulness practice to my artistic process. Doing so actually does help me work on and resolve issues. Using art as therapy isn't simply coping, It can also be healing, actually helping fix problems. At the same time, some artists find their demons act as a muse, their illness is a tool, and therefore, they don't want to be healed. Other artists, like, say, Van Gogh or Goya, had long-term issues that influenced their work, but before any real theories of mental illness and treatment were known. Excellently put. This is what several years of therapy taught me, wrapped up in a few paragraphs. Here's to putting it into practice now and doing our best. Races class. I was having panic attacks daily, and the med he gave me made my anxiety worse. Turned out I just had bad reactions to SSRIs, and that was all. He kept trying like a moron. Anyway, I'm in his office and he seems to be taking it personally that all the SSRIs he has put me on are giving me seriously bad side effects. Have you just given up then? The effer asks. Do you just want to be like this the rest of your life? Obviously effing not. That is why I'm in this office trying new medications. I was so angry and yet also having a panic attack at the same time. I ended up just walking out and finding a new psychiatrist later. F that guy, sounds arrogant as hell. Can't even accept that the issue could be with his own ability as a physician or his own approach to treatment. The day you think you know everything is the day you'll kill someone. It's a pretty popular saying in my side of healthcare. I've had the same experience. I tried 9 SSRIs over the course of 6 years. Had terrible reactions to all. Every time I had an issue they just told me to go on a higher dose or switch to a heavier SSRI. I got told I was resisting them or something. It turned out I just have a problem with SSRIs. Once I stopped taking them I wasn't suicidal anymore. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.